Hey there, Tiffany here with Years of Years, and it's This Day at Disney for June 21st. And today we are headed back to 1996 with the release of a film. And you know, it's movie season, so we're going to be talking about films quite a bit in the coming weeks, just because this time of year there's always lots of summer films coming out. So that'll be fun to discuss films and their production and some interesting facts that happened when they were made. So today, what was released on this day, Disney's 34th animated feature film, The Hunchback of Notre Dame, is generally released to the public. And the same day, The Hunchback of Notre Dame, a musical adventure, debuts at MGM Studios over at Disney World. So this is really cool. I love when Disney does stuff like this, when they release something like a musical, the same as a film that's coming out, or any kind of thing that Disney does to, you know, make exciting the film that's coming out, to promote it. And they did this with The Hunchback of Notre Dame. I know they did it with Pocahontas as well. So there's definitely times that Disney is in that. Obviously, that's not happening so much right now because of, you know, the pandemic and everything that's gone down. And so hoping as, you know, we kick into more of these films, they're starting to do exciting things. I know, for example, the show Loki that's on Disney Plus right now, they have Loki in his clothes that he wears in the show over at Disneyland or California Adventure. So I wish I could go see that. That would be so fun. But, you know, you Disneylanders can go check that out right now. Really awesome. But getting back to Hunchback of Notre Dame, do you guys love this film? Some people really don't like it. It's very dark. And some people really, really love it and connect with the characters. They did a great job writing this, and there's a lot of really good characters that really speak to individuals and the trials and difficulties that we go through in life. And so I'd like to hear in the comments what you guys think. Do you enjoy this film? Not so much. You know, I want to hear it all. But this film features the voices of Jason Alexander as Hugo, Tom Hulce as Quasimodo, Mary Kay Bergman as Quasimodo's mother, Demi Moore as Esmeralda, Tony Jay as Judge Claude Frollo, and Kevin Kline as Captain Phoebus. So you have Esmeralda and Phoebus kind of having a love thing, and you know, Quasimodo has his own feelings with Esmeralda, and I mean, I wouldn't call it a love triangle necessarily, but there's a lot of emotions going on there. And then of course the infamous Frollo, who's really Kevin Kline does an incredible job. Oh, not Kevin Kline, I'm sorry. Tony Jay does an incredible job of playing him. It's a difficult role. Really intense. And this is one of the few Disney animated feature films that has a lot of religion in it, talking about God, and just a lot of themes in it that are just not in other films. And so it's one of those things that you want to kind of talk through with your kids, especially if they're very inquisitive and pick up on things, because there's some really dark, intense stuff, and especially if, I mean, it's based on a lot of Catholicism, and you know, not everybody knows about that religion as well. So it's kind of, you know, something to talk about and discuss. But it was the reality of, and of course this film is based on Victor Hugo's book, and you know, they worked really, really hard to stay close to Hugo's vision of the book. They actually went to Paris and, you know, went to Notre Dame, of course, and did some touring. They went to actual sites. They spent 10 days there. They did a private tour and saw rarely glimpsed sites of actual passageways, stairwells, and towers, and a hidden room within that Hugo used as the setting for his book. So also they went to the Palace of Justice and got to see what that was all about, and they also went to the original locations of the Court of Miracles. So the Court of Miracles was a real thing. It's where people actually lived, mostly people who were the downtrodden, the, you know, as well as criminals, the unemployed, really, this is a good quote. It says, "The usual refuge of all those wretches who come to conceal in this corner of Paris, somber, dirty, muddy, and torturous, their pretended infirmities and criminal pollution." So the reason it was called the Court of Miracles is because a lot of times, you know, the only way that a large portion of people in Paris were able to make any money to survive was by begging. And usually someone who had an infirmity, you know, would make more money. And so they called it the Court of Miracles because somebody who was blind during the day miraculously would not be blind when they went to the Court of Miracles at night. And so lots of miracles occurred because a lot of people really didn't have these infirmities, but it was the best way that they could make enough money to survive. And so that's really kind of the story. There was a few of them, you know, in Paris, and they went to the site, the writers and directors and so forth went to the site to see some of these areas and, you know, incorporate that in the film. They incorporated so much of Notre Dame in the film, and I love especially of course, the 3 gargoyles. And it's really interesting that there were saints and there were gargoyles, and Victor Hugo said that, you know, both were Quasimodo's friends because the saints cared for him and prayed for him. I'm talking about the statues, and then the gargoyles were monsters, and so they rationalized, they understood him, so they were also his friends and they protected him. So he was friends and you know, pled his heart to all of them. So that makes him such a depth of character to me, to be able to be relatable to all these, you know, all either the saints or the monsters. You know, very interesting. I love Quasimodo. Of course, the music is phenomenal. I love the songs in this from the beginning of the film to the end. But especially, well, of course, Alan Menken was the one who was behind the great music of this film. And he also had help. Well, I guess they collaborative, but he had a lot of people helping him, but Alan Menken was mostly responsible, and you know, he put a lot of effort to make it really connect with the time period and you know, what Victor Hugo had written also. Just from the writing perspective, Kirk Wise, who directed, said we knew, or I'm sorry, who wrote it, said we knew it would be a challenge to stay true to the material while still giving it the requisite amount of fantasy and fun most people would expect from Disney animated features. We were not going to end it the way the book ended, with everyone dead. Thank goodness. I'm glad there's some happy endings. Of course, Frollo dies in the film, but Quasimodo and Esmeralda have happy endings, which I think all of our hearts, you know, prefer. Now, just getting over to MGM Studios and what they were doing there, the Hunchback of Notre Dame, a musical adventure. It was a musical show based off the film. It actually went from 1996 to 2002, and Disneyland had its own version, the Hunchback of Notre Dame Festival of Fools, and that took place at Big Thunder Ranch from 1996 to 98, and they were different versions. They weren't exactly the same. So this is how they were, you know, promoting and celebrating the film and keeping everything kind of seamless back then, and I really like that. So I don't know if some of you guys got to see this performance at Disney World or at Disneyland, but I'd love to hear about that in the comments as well. And you know, our older children grew up watching Hunchback of Notre Dame and they loved it. They really enjoyed the film. But Miles was our one who didn't hardly ever watched it. I don't know if he's ever watched it all the way through. And so it's definitely not for all children. Some children really might not enjoy it at all. you know, it can be seen as really dark, but I'm a huge Victor Hugo fan, so I'm all about this film, and I'm glad that Disney dedicated a whole film to one of his works, so it's really cool to me. Anyway, that's it for this day